All right, welcome to another call. Today I'm talking about my biggest business regrets over the last 10 years. And I wanted to share it with you so that you won't make the same mistakes and have the same regrets. Keep watching. It's going to be some cool stuff. I'm bringing in Leslie from Become a Blogger to help me out today. So it's going to be a really fun call. Keep watching. All right. We got everything working, and I've got Leslie with me on the call today. Leslie, say hi.
Hello, Hello, everyone.
We can hear you.
Good.
Awesome. So I'm going to bring in Leslie in a second. Just first of all, just want to set this thing up for you. About 3 years ago, I think it was, I came to a really big realization of a mistake that I've been making for about 7 years, and I only realized it 7 years into my career. And it was so bright as daylight when I realized this that I thought, I had to make a change. And today I thought, why not share it with you guys as well? It's about 3 years later since I've had that realization, and I've been making those changes in my business as well. So what happened was about 3 years ago, I went to a Social Media Examiner event, and awesome event. I was one of the speakers there. And one of the questions for that event was, what is the thing that you want to learn most about this year? Now, keep in mind, this is a business community who are very, very active in the social media space, of course. And so the answer really surprised me. The answer that came out was that the number one thing, this is 3 years ago, that people wanted to know at the event, it's probably not quite 3 years ago, it's 2.5 years ago or so. The number one thing that people wanted to learn about was blogging. Now, for me at that event, that was a big surprise because, I've been doing blogging for many, many years. In fact, I launched a course with Yaro Stark back in 2008, teaching people how to set up their blogs and how to use that as a business tool. So from 2008 to 2013, there was this massive lag of what I think the mainstream business world to come onto the blogging train. Now, this ties in very well with my regret that I've had. And what I realized at this event was that oftentimes in the past, I've been way too far ahead of the curve than I realized. And as a result, I would get into a business or in an industry, do my thing, and then I muck around for a while, and then it feels like it's really difficult to get traction, and then I would drop out because I think, or I'd not necessarily drop out, but I'd move on to something else, still maybe within a similar industry, but I'd move on, right? And then 2 or 3, sometimes 4 years later, the mainstream in business would come on board, and boom, the thing would take off. And let me just draw you a picture here to illustrate what happened here, for you to see the full picture. Okay, so if I do this screen here, not that one, we want to go, not that one, where did the screen go? Main screen, there was another one here that's disappeared now. Anyway, no, not that one. Okay, it looks like that screen has disappeared. Or maybe let's try, I don't know, that screen has disappeared. Anyway, let's try and draw it for you on here so that you can see what I'm talking about. So let's rub this stuff out. So with any market, there's this product adoption life cycle, right? So it looks like this. Boom, like that. Boom, 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 boom. And what you end up with, actually, let me center the screen a little bit for you so you can see a bit better. So what happens is you've got your innovators here right at the beginning, the innovators, and then you've got your early adopters, second. Then here you've got your early majority, and then your late majority, and then your laggards. Now, what's happened to me is that I've been operating in this world here, right at the innovator stage or the early adopter stage. And then I get at this point and go, it's not getting a lot of traction here. I'm going to move on to the next thing. And I jump right back to the beginning of the curve and start that same journey again. And then what would happen is the market would keep on moving on. The mainstream would come, especially in business, and then I'd be sitting still here in the smaller part of the market, and I'd miss the bigger part of market. So there's pros and cons, obviously, to that sort of approach because you can be there ahead of the market, ahead of the game, and be ready for the trend when it comes. I think my mistake was that I kind of left that market before it would actually take off. And so that's quite a big regret that I've had, but I've learned that lesson now since 3 years ago. And so I've been making changes to my business as a result. And one of the key lessons for me is that I really just need to be more patient in getting, in sticking with something that I started in an industry and having faith in my prediction that the mainstream would come. That's happened five times now in my career. I did podcasting in 2008. It only really took off a few years later. Podcast in 2006, 2007, around about there. I did blogging in 2008. Took 3 or 4 years to take off. I did the online video marketing thing about 2 or 3 years before the business mainstream jumped on it. I've been doing live video streaming for I don't know how long, but effectively for the last year and a half. And also video advertising now. So there's been a lot of trends that I've been able to spot. Not that I'm like particularly good or anything, and I'll explain to you why. And I think this is possible for anyone. But because I was so at the beginning, I didn't realize that the big mainstream was still coming. So if you look back at this curve again, here, so what happens, and this is something for you to watch out for. So you have this curve, right? And I think when you're in an industry, so Leslie, I'll bring you in a second. I just want to show this picture to people. When you're in an industry, you, by default, the longer you stay in the industry, move down this curve towards the front of the curve. When you just get focused on it and you research the industry, by default, you become the leader or the innovator eventually if you stay in the industry long enough. Now, what happened to me, and I think this happens probably to a lot of people, is that I didn't realize that was happening. I sort of started here in the early majority, sort of the mainstream market. And then as I become more of an expert, I became sort of an early adopter. And then the more advanced I became more of an innovator in this space. But I didn't realize it because everyone else around me were also innovators or early adopters. So I just thought everyone else were doing the same stuff that I was doing. And it wasn't the case. And so I became blinded to what was actually happening in the mainstream. And so nowadays, whenever I start here with a new business or a new industry, I always think 2 or 3 years in advance and see if I can set myself up 2 or 3 years in advance for when the mainstream comes. Okay, that's my bit of wisdom there from 10 years of experience in business. Leslie, I'm going to bring you in now at this stage. What do you think? Have you been in that sort of situation before? And then after that, we're going to dig into your biggest mistake or regret that you've made in the last few years.
Man, I think it's such a powerful concept because, I think one of the things that could happen with that is that we just get bored, right? Especially, when you've been doing something for a while. Okay, yeah, it may be new to somebody else, but you've been around doing this. And after a while doing the same thing, it's kind of like, man, I'm tired of this, right?
Right.
But so I think that ability to just be patient and stick with it is the thing that so many entrepreneurs struggle with because of the fact that if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an innovator, it's like you always want to be on that next thing, right? That new thing. But if we could just stay focused and stay with it, I mean, there's so much more that can happen as a result of it. So I definitely hear where you're coming from. I felt that. And, when I think about my biggest regret, it's along the same lines. It's a little different of a twist to it, but it's a similar concept.
Well, why don't we jump into that, and then I think we'll open it up for Q&A a bit and maybe give a few shout-outs for our audience.
Yeah, definitely. So when I think about my biggest regret, and I'm not the kind of person that looks back and say, man, I just regret this, I regret that. But I think I look at it as my biggest lesson. When I think about what my biggest lesson in business has been over the last few years is, when I left my job to do this full time, I was in a situation where I needed to make money. I needed to feed my family. I needed to do, I'm the sole income provider. So I needed to hustle. I needed to get stuff done. So the way I decided to go about it was chasing multiple things at once. Right. So I started my coaching club. Then I started one-on-one coaching. I started working with Social Media Examiner and doing a whole bunch of stuff with them. I started working with another company over here and doing a whole bunch of stuff with them. And within my blog, I was doing all kinds of different things. Over the last few months, I've been focused on my coaching club. And as a result of that, the way it's grown has been phenomenal. Now I'm thinking back and saying to myself, well, imagine if I went all the way back to when I left my job and I was 100% focused on that one thing. where would I be today? So and that's something, it's kind of along the same lines, right? You get bored with one, you kind of move on to something else, you're not sticking it out. But in this situation, we're talking more of this is where my focus is going to be. And I'm going to have a single-minded focus on that particular outcome. And I'm just going to keep going for it and keep going for it. Because, when I think about where my membership would be today, man, my mind is blown. And so now I'm kind of thinking from the aspect of where can I eliminate as much as possible so that I could have more of that focus to be able to accomplish more of that one thing and have a much greater impact.
And there's a really good book written on that topic as well called The One Thing, right, Leslie? You want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, The One Thing. That's such a powerful book. And the concept of that book is asking yourself one fundamental question. What is the one thing that you can focus on such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? And I've memorized that because I thought it was such a powerful thing. Because the concept is, okay, so I used to be a science and math teacher, and one of the classes that I taught was physics. And there's a very fundamental concept that we learn in physics, and that's the pressure equation. Now, I don't have the fancy drawing thing here, so I can't draw it for you, but just imagine.
I can draw it for you, Leslie.
Okay, yeah, you go ahead and draw it. You share your screen and draw it. It's a very simple equation. And the equation is this: P equals F over A. All right, so on one side you have pressure equals force over area. Now, here's the powerful part of it, right? If you take force and apply it over a certain area, you're going to have pressure. Now, to illustrate this very simply, and Gideon is writing it on the screen right now for you. I have my fist. I'm going to take my fist and I am going to apply a certain amount of force on my thigh. I'm just going to hit it down. All right? So I just did it. And you know what? It hurt a little bit. All right? Because I applied force over a certain area, and as a result, there was pressure. And that pressure, I could still feel it in my leg right now. Not a big deal, right? But if I take that same amount of force, and instead of applying it over that great area, I take a needle. And I take that needle and I put it right there on my thigh. And I apply the same amount of force to the needle. What's going to happen? I guarantee you, I'm going to be screaming like a girl in here. And the reason for that is I'm taking that force and I'm applying it on such a small area that the pressure is so much greater. All right? That's the way I look at it, right? I am going to be exerting energy, right? And I want to have an impact in my business, in my life, in my family, and all that stuff. But if I take that energy and I spread it out over such a great area, I try to do this, I try to do that, I try to do all these different things, I'm not going to have as much of an impact. But if I take that same amount of energy and I just focus it on fewer things, on a very small area, the impact that I'm going to have is so much greater. And I think that's one of the things that as entrepreneurs, we struggle with because we have all these ideas. We wake up in the middle of the night, oh man, I got this new idea. Let me try that, right? But if I take all of my energy and I focus it in one direction, on one specific path, on one specific thing, the impact is remarkable.
So that's easier said than
Oh,
done,
yes,
though, right?
it
I mean,
is.
in principle. I mean, I drew actually a fantastic drawing there. I'm not sure if you guys agree.
No, that was
with
awesome drawing.
Did you see it?
I did see it. Yeah, I'm watching on YouTube too.
Okay. Well, yeah. So definitely easier than done. And what's so interesting is that it really relates very well to what I was talking about as well. I think you managed to verbalize it a lot better than I could. But yeah, so in my case, when you're early to something, being able to focus on just that one thing and having that faith to work at it long enough for you to build that momentum and to get into the flow of things. I think that's also another part of it. It's you getting into the flow and building your own momentum, but also making sure that you're in a marketplace that is big enough where that sort of your momentum you'll be able to take advantage of that. So it's one thing launching into a market that's early and there's not enough people around, and launching into a market where there's a lot more people. In fact, there's really good advice that I've been able to heed over the last 3 years from Eugene Schwartz, where he talks about advertising, and he talks about, as an advertiser, your job is not to create demand. It's not to create demand as an advertiser. You at best, when you want to create demand, you first have to educate the market, right? And then once they're educated, then you can start making your offers. At best, he reckoned what you can get there is a one-on-one relationship with paid advertising in terms of how much you get back. So you put in $1, you get $1 back. Whereas if you flick that around and you say, no, I'm going to go after a market that already exists, there's already demand, and I'm just going to put my ad or myself or my business in front of that existing demand, your chances of success is much better. That's when you get a much better return on investment. Where you put in $1, you get 10 back, $1, you get 20 back, or whatever it is. So I think that's really wise advice, and it fits in really well with what Leslie is talking about here as well, with honing in, finding it that one thing that it is that you want to focus on, and just sticking with it, sticking with it and growing it as much as you can. So yeah, good stuff, Leslie. Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it.
All right. So we've got a good number of people in the room, and I always love opening up for Q&A as well on this call. So if you do have, actually, before we do that, Leslie, was there anything else you wanted to mention? I know this was just an impromptu. I just asked Leslie like 2 minutes beforehand, 5 minutes beforehand, come on the call. And he goes, yeah, let's do it. But was there any final remarks you wanted to give, Leslie, before we jump into the Q&A?
I don't really have much more to add, because I think we covered it very well there. Sticking with something for the long haul, and also focusing. I think those two concepts, when you put them together, it can have such a huge impact on whatever it is you're trying to accomplish online. So I think that's it. I think that is the main. Like, if someone walks away from this live stream and they get that, man, the impact that could have on their lives, I think it's just remarkable.
Awesome. So maybe you have had some business regrets or things you've done wrong, big mistakes you've made, that you feel happy to share in the comments area. Let us know. I actually forgot to do the Twitter thing, but you can also, with the way that I'm running it today, ask questions through Twitter. Let me see if I can bring that up while you guys are typing questions in the chat room. I'm going to see if I can bring up the Twitter thing, because then I can bring up your Twitter question on the screen for everyone else after this call to watch as well.
Nice.
So, not sure, Leslie, you like talking, right? Is there something else that you want to talk? Maybe tell a joke or something while I set that up?
No pressure at all. No. I'm just curious, because we got a number of people in here. So let us know where you're from, and if you have a regret that you, or a lesson that you've learned in your business that's made a significant impact on your life. I would like to hear that. So go ahead and let us know in the chat.
Also, while we're waiting for people to leave questions and comments and stuff, maybe you can also talk about your experience and your findings lately, and your predictions maybe of where live video streaming is going. So I know you've been doing a lot of Facebook stuff. Everybody's always interested in that. So maybe tell us a bit about your journey there and your experience, and then we'll see what sort of questions we get in the comments here in a second while I set the stuff up.
Yeah, so it's obvious to me and to everybody else that's paying attention that live streaming is, I don't want to make Gideon feel too good. He's been saying this for a little while or something of that sort. But live streaming is obviously something that a lot of people are getting very excited about. You got Meerkat that came out, and then Periscope, and I think that really kind of changed the game, because it made it so easy for me to pull out a phone and then easily just go live, and next thing you know, I'm live streaming to my followers, I'm live streaming to a potential new audience, and I think that it is such a great thing that we're able to do today because of how technology has evolved. Now you have the big boys like Facebook coming into it. YouTube has been doing this for a while, and so on. I think live streaming is kind of like the next evolution in social media, because now it's not just me posting a tweet, it's me on Periscope and my Twitter followers being able to come in and join the conversation, and it can be a back and forth conversation, kind of like we're having now. It's not just me posting a picture or a status update on Facebook, it's me having that live interaction with my audience and engaging the community, and I think that's such a powerful thing. Now, with all of these different platforms and more coming out, and you have Blab, you got so many of them coming out over the last few months, and I think we're going to see even more over the next few months. The question then becomes kind of like what we were saying before: where do you focus, right? So for me, I'm starting to realize that it all comes down to that. If you're going to be live streaming, having a focus in terms of the platform or maybe platforms that you're using, a focus in terms of the value that you're delivering, the audience that you're trying to reach. I think those things are becoming even more important, and it's such a useful tool now. I think it's just an exciting space. It's going to be an exciting thing to watch over the next few months. So I'm excited about it. I've been playing around a lot with Facebook Live. I really love the platform. I enjoy many things about Facebook, but I'm now exploring YouTube Live because it has, well, quite frankly, it's YouTube, and YouTube knows a thing or two about video. They've been doing it for a while. The quality that we're getting, the things that we're able to do here, you can't do on any other platform. And they're just, I don't think they've really unleashed the full extent of what they're going to be unleashing. So I think YouTube is going to be very interesting to watch. It's going to be interesting to see what Facebook does. Periscope, if you prefer Twitter as your social network, it's going to be interesting for you on that platform. I just think it's an exciting place to be in. I think this is an exciting time to be alive and an exciting time to be doing anything on the internet.
Totally. Wow, that was awesome, Leslie. And also, I'm not sure if you mentioned part of the reason why you're looking at YouTube Lives, because I've been hassling you about it, right?
I didn't want to say that, but you have been hassling me. But the interesting thing about it, I'm seeing the benefit of it. I'm seeing all of the different platforms like Wirecast Go and the I forgot the Switcher Studio and so on that you can use to stream to YouTube. And I'm just waiting for YouTube to do their own thing because I think it's going to be interesting.
It is. I just can't believe that it's taking YouTube so long to do something in the mobile app space there for live stream. But watch this space.
Definitely.
Anyways, I have a Twitter thing working. How cool is that? So
what means, that's awesome.
And this is all part of the experiment, really, isn't it? So what this means is you can see over there, if I can go full screen for me, you can see the little Twitter message there. So it's pulling in all the Twitter messages on my Twitter channel at the moment. So if you want to ask a question and be featured there, that's going to be forevermore as long as the video is online into eternity. You can send us a question on Twitter. All you got to do is use my handle, my Twitter handle, which is Gideon Shalwick. So if you use my Twitter handle at Gideon Shalwick or however it works on Twitter, ask a question or make a comment. I can bring it up on the screen and then you'll be famous.
Love it.
How does that sound? So in the meantime, we will look at some of the comments coming through. So I'll get Leslie on the screen there as well. So Leslie and I will have a go at answering some of these. Okay, so we have a question from, let's just see, let's just scrolling back up again.
Yeah, so I think the first thing first of all, Zoe, thank you. That's 24 Carat Crochet. She said she just subscribed to my channel. I appreciate that. Eileen was making a comment because we asked what are some of the things that you learned in your business or like one of the biggest your regrets or anything of that sort. And what she said is that from her experience, don't listen to the naysayers. And I had to bring that out because that is such a strong, I think it's such a powerful point because whenever you start to put yourself out there, I guarantee you, there will be naysayers. There will be people that disagree with you. There will be trolls coming on your live stream. There will be all these types of things that you're going to be dealing with. And I think it's such an important thing to understand who you want to focus your energy on. Who are you going to listen to? And I think that's such a powerful point from Eileen. I just needed to put that in there.
Totally, yeah, and talking of trolls, oh my goodness, on my last call, I actually dedicated it to our lovely trolls, and it was awesome to see that in the interaction with the actual trolls and what we could do with it. And it's very easy, especially if you're getting started, to get put down by people who just don't get it, or people who are just jealous or whatever else, and then you give up because of that. And these people don't even know what's going on, So really, really good point. Yeah, the naysayers. Quick question there from Eileen, I think it was. Asking about, where was it now? Yeah, are you using Wirecast? Yeah, so interesting question, Eileen. So yes, I am, but it is not Wirecast on my phone today. It's not the Wirecast Go app. Today I'm using the proper setup in my professional studio with the proper Wirecast Play software. That you've got to pay a lot of money for and have fancy gear and everything. So much different setup today. And I've had a video about it before, but I might do another one if that's of interest. Okay, let's see what else we got there. Leslie, do you see another question there that hopefully I didn't miss anything?
Yeah, so the social advisor is asking, how do you plan yourself? How do you plan yourself so that you can get content out regularly without dropping the ball?
Good question.
That is a great question. You want to attack that first, Gideon?
I'm gonna have to read the question again because I was checking the Twitter stuff.
Yeah, I can go ahead and give what I would do. So the question is, how do you plan? Basically, how do you plan so that you can continue creating regular content without dropping the ball? So this is how I plan. There are different ways of doing it, but this is what I've come to now. The first aspect is I create an editorial calendar. So as of right now, I know all of the content that I'm going to be creating for the next 3 months. I have that on my calendar and I can see exactly what's coming up and when it's coming up. So that's the first thing that I do. This is not something that I've been doing for a while. This is something that I've started adopting in 2016, and it has changed the game for me. So that's number one. Here's what that does. Before I did that, there would be many days where I have a podcast episode that's supposed to go live tomorrow, and I'm on the phone with a friend today like, yo, dude, I really need I need an idea for a podcast. Can you help me out? And then we kind of brainstorm back and forth. And then I hustle to get something done really quickly. And then I finally get something out. Sometimes even recording the podcast on the same day that it's going live in the morning. That doesn't work well. So if you can just sit down and think about your target audience and the different things that they're struggling with and the types of content that you could create to help them, and then just planning it out. This week I'm doing this. Next week I'm doing that. And now you know when you sit down to start creating content, you're eliminating the need to think about what you're going to create next because you already have it planned. You spent that. It took me about maybe an hour to create that plan for 3 months. That's number one.
Wow.
Number two, something that I started doing a while back that really changed the game for me is just committing to writing 30 minutes every day. When I went through the book, The One Thing, I realized that my one thing was writing. Because if I could just write and just, have outlines and articles and so on, that serves the basis for everything I do. From my sales videos to my blog posts, my podcast episodes, to the videos that I do, even the live stream videos that I do, writing things out in advance, it really makes a difference. And doing that makes everything else easier. So I just told myself, I'm going to do that consistently. Every day, I'll write 30 minutes. And the next thing I knew, after about a month of doing this, I had content for the next 3 months. That changed the game for me. So just being consistent in the content creation without letting significant amount of time lapse, that really helps me, especially since I already have the content calendar created. It just helps me to streamline my workflow and get my content out without having any lapses.
Brilliant. Love it. I also have a bit of an insight on that as well. And it's a combination of things that I've learned from different people over the time, but also through my own experimenting, and very much so in terms of what I'm experimenting with now with the live video stuff. And that's using the elements of live events, whether it's YouTube live streaming or Facebook or whatever else. But the idea is that you book it in advance. You schedule it in advance.
Yep.
And there's an audience who expects you to be there and for you to deliver something. So the way it works with YouTube live events, if I flick over to my screen here, is what you can do is, and this is only for YouTube live events now, but this is what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to see how it works. So maybe you can try it out as well. Let me just zoom in a bit here. Bigger, 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 bigger. Yeah. So, so you go to YouTube, you log in, you go to events, and you go and create a new live event. And so the beautiful thing here is now you can go ahead and pre-schedule a live event that you want to run. And you can publish it on your YouTube channel for your followers and everyone else to see that at that specific time on that day, you're going to be running a live event. And then you've got to turn up. It almost creates an inevitable kind of situation where you are going to create content whether you like it or not, because you've made that commitment publicly to a wider audience. And so that's what I'm going to be playing around with. I'm going to see how that works. I have been using it a little bit. At the moment, I'm not as organized, so I just do it like either the night before or an hour before, but it's still better than nothing. The idea is for me to try and do this like at least a week in advance, or like Leslie, 3 months in advance even, where you come up with all the different topics, all the different days, all the different times, and it's slotted in. People are expecting you to deliver on that content. And, it's got to work. It's got to work. So I'm going to give it a go and see how that works.
Gideon, I actually love that suggestion. That is the best suggestion. Like, I'm going to do that like tonight or tomorrow, because here's the thing, right? I've noticed when when I schedule a webinar and, let's say it's a webinar that's going to be turned into a course, there's something that happens a few days before that where even if I am so unprepared, I know that I have to put in the work to make it happen. And they've always come together because I put that pressure on myself. When I started my coaching club, one of the things that I have is courses that they can get access to, and we do them as live webinars. And I remember many times where the day before I'm hustling, just trying to get this thing together. But when it was all said and done, it was done. And that's because I put it on the calendar. I committed to it publicly. That really, I love that tip. And I'm going to do that starting with my next live stream.
Awesome to hear. Yeah. Well, it certainly works. I mean, like for today's call, for example, I could have easily have pulled out, but yeah. I had it scheduled. My audience, my audience on YouTube at least, knew that it was coming. So if I didn't deliver, I'd have a little bit of egg on my face, which is not so good. And it becomes even more effective when you have a bigger audience, more people who expect you to deliver something. So that's something I'm going to experiment with as well. So far for these live events this year, I've only really been, I haven't been promoting it out. It's just on YouTube, right? So what I could also do is tell all my email subscribers a week in advance, hey, there's going to be a live call. Make sure you're there at that time. And of course, that's going to put on a little bit more pressure. And I would say this, while this method is awesome for setting up an inevitable situation where you're going to create content, it does add a bit of stress to your life. There's no doubt about that. But I think, Leslie, you can probably vouch for that as well. As you create your systems and as you create it more, and as you build your team, you can probably reduce that stress a lot and just create this machine that just creates content all the time. I mean, look at television, right? A lot of shows are live, and look at those guys. They got a massive team there to help them do it, and it's live no matter what, and it's awesome no matter what. And I'm sure for the guys, the presenters or the actors or whatever, they don't manage the whole thing. They just turn up. They just turn up and get the makeup on and look pretty. And I think when it comes to live video, that's maybe perhaps an approach you could have as well, to try and get rid of all the stuff so that you can just be running, on the show.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we got a comment and a question. Mm-hmm. The comment is from Zoe. She says, live streaming is really useful. I have a narrow field of business, but try to diversify a lot within it, being in multiple online and offline places. And I think that's also very powerful. Yes, you have a narrow focus, but within that narrow focus, I mean, you're free to do a whole bunch of things. And using, I mean, we're using YouTube Live right now. We'll probably do some Facebook Live. I have my podcast that I do. You have these multiple things that you can use, these multiple types of media that helps you to provide even more value to your audience. So I think there's significance to that. It can get a bit overwhelming if you're trying to do too much, like we said before. but being realistic and just choosing where you're going to focus within that narrow niche. I think there's so much that can be done. But
Awesome.
but Stevie had a question. He said, I'd like some insight on your thoughts on when to promote, how often, and what's too much. What are your thoughts on that, Gideon?
Before I answer that, I am not seeing any Twitter comments just yet. So either you guys are very shy to be on Twitter, or you don't have Twitter accounts, or my software is not working and I just can't see your comments. So make sure that you tag my name. You've got to use my Twitter handle. You've got to use the @ symbol, right, Leslie, for it to come through
Yes.
as a connection. So use the @ symbol before my name and then push it out on Twitter, and I'll be able to push it up on the screen here for everyone to see. How cool is that? All right,
Awesome.
so let's get back to Stevie's question. All right, so when to promote, how often, and what's too much?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So I just had a call this morning with someone very interesting. They asked me that question. What's one of the other biggest mistakes you've made in your business, and it's often come down to making the wrong offer. And for me, making the right offer, you've got to get 5 things right. It's like a sweet spot that involves 5 things. And once again, I'm going to bring out my little drawing pad here and show off with my drawing pad. Leslie, I hope you're paying attention. So there's 5 things for me, and it's like this sweet spot that you can hone in. 1, 2, 3. Now it's going to get tricky. 4, 5. Okay, that's awfully drawn, but let's see. So the first thing is problem. Okay, and this does tie into your question, Stevie, if you're wondering. But yeah, okay. This is a long way of answering it. But first of all, you need to make sure you're targeting the right problem. Then you need to make sure you're covering the right solution, right? The solution that matches the problem. And then you also need to use the right language. You need to make sure you use the right language to present your offer to your target audience. But then there are 2 more things that are just as essential. And the first one is pricing. If you get the wrong pricing, then it doesn't convert. And then the final thing is timing. If you get the wrong timing, then it also doesn't work. So this comes back to your question now, when to promote, how often, and what's too much. So for me, it comes down to, first of all, if you have all those things lining up, you've got the right problem, the right solution, using the right language, it's the right pricing, and you are at the right time, then you go for it. You can have those promotions coming much faster. If you're not in the right timing, then you're better off going back to another cycle in your business, where you perhaps need to go to a creative cycle more, to get ready for a promotion cycle again. So it's come down to timing a bit as well. So, but in general, when it comes to having a balance between content and promotions, what I used to do was have at least 1 content piece a week, and then 1 promotion piece a month. So this was a balance that I had for one of my other businesses in the past. But really, I think it depends probably a bit on your business model as well, how often you're going to be promoting. So if you've got a new product or a new feature or something, then you can promote a lot more often compared to if you just have one same product all the time. When someone like Jeff Walker, he promotes only like once every 6 months for his product launch formula. That's his own thing that he really promotes, the only thing. And so he does it once every 6 months. But if you've got new features or new products coming out every month, then every month is a much more appropriate way to promote. So it really depends on the timing of your how ready your audience is, and your business model as well. Leslie, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's an interesting balance, right? You don't want to over promote, but if you'd never promote, then you never make any money, right? So it's finding that value, that balance of providing enough value, and also reframing what it means to have an offer. Because I used to look at promotion as if it was that bad thing. It's like, okay, guys, we're going to have a promotion now. I apologize. I'm sorry that I have to do this, but, we got to pay the bills. But I had to change my mindset. I had to change my mind about how I look at selling. Because now I see selling as a way for me to provide even more value. It's a way for me to allow people to go on a deeper journey, and for me to be able to help and guide them at a deeper level. And that's not something that I want to hold back from people. So I think once your offer, if your offer is a solid offer that really provides value, then you got to let the world know about it. You don't want to be that person that's just always talking about their offer, but you want to be that person that's always providing value. And when it makes sense for that offer to be presented because it's providing more value than you could just for free, then you need to you need to make the offer. So I think sometimes it calls for us to reframe how we look at the offer. And there have been things in the past where the offers that I had, they weren't really things that I would stand behind and share with my family and those types of things. But I think once you are in a place where what you create is just value for others, you start to it reframes all of that, and you're able to look at it in a much healthier way. So yeah, I agree with what you had to say there.
Cool. Well, looks like people have been sending some.
Yeah,
Twitter
that's what it looks
questions there,
like.
but I'm not able to get them up. I'm not sure. I think I'm not. I don't know how to use the software. That's what it comes down to. I thought I did, but I can't seem to bring them up. So apologies about that. So maybe we'll just turn the Twitter thing off for now and just do it through the chat room. So I'll have to figure that out for next time.
Cool.
Okay. So what do we got next there in terms of questions?
Yes. So I think there was a few more.
How about that comment from Neville? I'll read that out. Neville
Yeah, go
Taylor.
ahead.
Okay. So Neville is saying, my regret is that I give up too easily on a campaign. It becomes costly, frustrating, and I think there must be a different target market. I love your advice on focus on one thing. So not really a question, I guess, but a very good comment. Yeah, I mean, just on giving up too easily on a campaign, especially if it becomes too costly. And I think there, if we talk about an advertising sort of campaign where you're putting money into it, before you even put money into it, you need to have a certain level of confidence that A, you have a good lifetime value for your customers, so in other words, how much they spend with you over a lifetime, and two, your conversion rate for when you send traffic to your funnel, making sure that conversion rate really works. And then, thirdly, then you start looking at traffic and paying for traffic. You got to have it in that sort of order. And sometimes you got to go backwards and forwards. Sometimes you got to set it all up, then drive traffic little bits, and then go and fix your lifetime value and your conversion rate first before you scale up big time. And that's how you do it. So you don't always get it right the first time. Well, in fact, you probably never do, but it's an iterative process for going back to your lifetime value of your customer and also the conversion rates for your funnel, and then driving traffic again. And you just build it up as you go. Okay, so what else do we have here?
Yeah, the social advisor has a great question for you. How do you suggest people get past their natural fear of being on camera?
Very, very cool question. And this is Baz, actually. So I'm actually speaking at Baz's event this coming Friday.
Oh, cool.
And that's going to be part of what I'm going to be talking about, how to eliminate the fear of being on camera. And I think this is a fear that probably all of us share. I mean, I'm not sure about you, Leslie, but I sometimes still have a bit of fear being on camera, especially with live events. Probably not so much more camera, but live events is a little bit of nervousness that comes up, especially before a big one. But I think there's a number of things you can do to help you overcome this fear. One is actually a tip that I got from you, Baz, from Social Advisor, is to realize that whenever you're talking to another person, they actually have two cameras in their head, right? Their eyes. And so, they're recording while you're talking. So, why doesn't that freak you out? Whereas when you're talking to a camera, it's not even a person. You're just talking to a little lens there. So why do we get so freaked out when the camera turns on? So obviously, or maybe not so obvious, there's something happening in our subconscious. We have perhaps this idea that a lot of people might be watching us at some point, and that's going to be, in there on the internet into eternity, and you could fail, and then people could laugh at you for the rest of your life and for the rest of eternity. Maybe that's the fear that we have subconsciously of being on camera. But you can overcome that fear. So what if you make a mistake? In general, I think people don't really care unless you're one of those big viral videos that really do get a lot of attention. Like Rebecca Black, that was a really good example, poor thing. It wasn't even such a bad song. But anyway,
yes, it was.
I don't know. I thought it was quite catchy. So I think there are things you can do for helping you overcome that fear. One is to realize that probably not as many people are going to see it. Number two, you can always delete the video. Number three, you can always record something and never publish it just until you're ready to make it go live to the world. What are we up to? Number four, you can recondition your mind to get used to yourself, because I think that's something else. When we see ourselves on camera or hear ourselves on video, we're not used to it. Our minds actually reject that, and there's a reason for that. The main reason is that because when you see yourself, the most often it's when you're looking in the mirror, and of course the mirror is a reflection of you. It's not the true you, right? It's flicked around on the which plane? Actually, on all planes, isn't it? So it's a reflection. It's not the true image. Whereas when you look at a video of you, it is the true image. It's a true representation of you. So of course your mind's going to flip out because it doesn't recognize it. There's something is off, and the reason is because our faces are not symmetrical. I mean, it's quite a fun little exercise to do that I think Baz, you were going to do with your team, right? Where you can take a picture of your face and then split it up in half, and then take the two right-hand sides and make one face, and take the two left-hand sides and make one face, and see what it looks like. It is hilarious. It's a really, really cool exercise to do to make you realize that your face is not symmetrical. And so because of that, when it's flipped and you see the flipped version, which you're not used to seeing, your mind kind of freaks out. And the same goes for your audio. When you hear yourself, normally it goes through the air, but also through your head and to your eardrums. But when everyone else hears you, it just goes through the air. To the eardrums. And so when you see yourself or listen to yourself on video, the same sort of thing is happening. The sound just goes through the air and into your eardrums. So it doesn't go through your head anymore. So you sound weird to yourself. So the only way that I've found to fix that is to essentially recondition your subconscious mind. And the only way to do that is by watching yourself and listening to yourself over and over and over. And over time, your subconscious mind just goes, oh, okay, that is me. That is really what I look like, and that is really what I sound like. So that's my little tips. Leslie, maybe you've got something else as well?
Yeah, I got some tips. I got some really good tips for you.
All right.
Tip number one, go back and watch some of Gideon's earliest videos.
No, don't do that.
Or quite frankly, go back and watch some of my earliest videos. Go back, the people that you see on videos that are doing great things right now, go back and watch them when they first started, because what you're going to see is that they weren't always doing great things. We all have to start somewhere. And I think by seeing that this is just a part of the process, this is how we learn, this is how we grow, you become more comfortable with it. So that's number one. Number two, make a video. And then when you finish that one, make a video. And then when you finish that one, make another video. Because you know what? They say practice makes perfect. It is true. The more you do it, the better you become at it. I learned to do videos and that kind of stuff from Gideon back in the days. So I learned because I went through his course and I saw how he was making his slideshows and all these kinds of things. And I said, I'm going to do like what Gideon is doing. And it's funny because if you go back and listen to my older videos, I sound like Gideon with a Caribbean accent. Because, you know what, I didn't come into myself as yet with the videos that I was making. But because I've made so many videos, I have no idea how many videos I've made to date, but I've made a lot of them. Because I've done that, I've gotten much more comfortable with letting my personality come out in my videos. I've gotten much more comfortable with the fact that I'm on video. Yeah, and now even with this whole live streaming thing and Snapchat and all these different platforms where in some cases you're outside and you're making a video, I find myself now self-conscious when doing those because I'm kind of like, well, people are around. This is not my usual thing where I'm in my office and no one can actually see me. And the more I do it, the more comfortable I get with doing it. So I want to just encourage you. The social advisor says, practice and keep practicing, but do it in public. I love that. Yeah. So I think the whole idea of just practicing just makes you much better at it.
Yeah, totally, and that's so true, and it goes for everything, doesn't it? Especially for public speaking. The more you practice, the more naturally it becomes. It's almost like the world starts slowing down. The more
Yep.
practiced you become, it's like you compare it to some of the top tennis players. They often talk about being in the zone, or being in the flow or in the zone.
Yep.
And it's when it just seems like everything is slowing down. Everyone else is moving in slow motion, and you're moving in normal speed. And that happens when you're really well practiced. And the reason why that happens is because your subconscious mind has taken over on a lot of the repetitive tasks. A lot of the stuff that you used to stress out consciously now has become subconscious. And now you can have your full conscious mind on the game, and everything else gets taken care of automatically by your subconscious mind. It's really awesome stuff. Our minds are just amazing, aren't they?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Eileen had a question. How did you decide what time you do your YouTube live stream? And she had a follow-up to that. Were you concerned about the Super Bowl stealing part of your audience?
And I loved your follow-up question there, Leslie, that says, "But what's the Super Bowl?" Yeah, what is the Super Bowl? I mean, we don't have it here in
It
Australia.
has something to do with, people kicking balls or something of that sort.
Right, kicking balls. For me, it wasn't a concern because I don't, I think when you've got a following, they'll come and follow you no matter what. But yeah, I mean, it's not like I planned a big event. This was an unannounced sort of a thing once again. I wouldn't probably plan a big event during the Super Bowl or any big event that's in America, because most of my audience is in America. So I do keep an eye on that. But today's one, for example, is just a bit of fun. I don't particularly care if everyone from the Super Bowl is coming to watch my show or the Super Bowl. It'd be kind of nice if they come to mine, but it's not going to happen, right? So, but yeah, in general, I do keep an eye on things like that.
Definitely. So Eileen was also pointing out Blab is a fantastic place to practice. And I wanted to I wanted to read that comment because I actually find that it's kind of cool because live streaming could be intimidating, but when you're live streaming with multiple people, you have 4 people in a room, it's not as intimidating. So I think there is something to that, being able to do it with others and kind of get used to doing it. So that's a great point, Eileen. Thanks for bringing that up.
I see social advisor Baz is saying that flipping your face is pretty freaky. Yeah, it is. It's such a fun exercise. Do yourself a favor. Take a picture of yourself on your get it on your computer and then do that splitting thing. It is freaky. Sometimes I've got a theory. I reckon one side of your face is the feminine side, and the other side of your face is the masculine side. And
There
you
we go.
see it when you put them together. It is insane. Yeah. Okay.
I like that.
What else do we have there?
Yeah, Zoe just had a comment, which I think is a really cool one. She said, being on camera, I started by showing things close up with just my hands. You can also just do picture slideshows on YouTube, and it was a progression. I actually like that concept because, it could be intimidating to create videos where you're on the camera, especially in the beginning. And starting with something like that is not as intimidating, but you can get into the flow, you can test out the equipment and learn how to use it. I think that progression can help depending on what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. So I think that's a good point to bring out. Thank you so much, Zoe.
Good one. And Zoe is just saying the freakiest part of playing back a video of yourself is the audio, as you sound so different to yourself. Yeah, and it's so true. We do sound different to ourselves, but you just go and ask everyone else around you, and they all go, "No, that's what you sound like," and they just confirm that's what you really sound like, which is more proof that you just need to retrain your ear by listening to yourself and actually listening to your own podcasts as well. It doesn't just have to be video. To retrain yourself for your audio, for your own voice, works like a charm. Eileen is actually saying my latest. Sorry, I'll read that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my latest podcast episode is about being confident in front of the camera. By the way, guys, as you're watching this live, this is one of the actual benefits of being live and commenting while you're live. Go and visit each other's channels. Go and visit
definitely.
Leslie's Become a Blogger channel and subscribe to each other. This is how you build community. This is how you build followers and build relationships on this place called YouTube. So definitely do that. Okay.
Awesome. Neville has a question. Leslie, you spoke about your calendar and the 3-month look ahead. Do you schedule content as well in each of the calendar items, or just the commitment to publish and stress about the content later? I wish I could show you my screen right now, but I'm not as fancy as some people who will.
You can.
I can?
You,
How?
you can actually. Well, you're on Skype, right? So you can share your screen and then I can share it with people
You see,
watching live.
this is why I know Gideon. This is like the only reason because
Yeah,
I learned these types of things. So what I'm gonna do? Oh, that's so cool. Oh, this is gonna be great. Then you're gonna love this. This is
yeah,
like behind the scenes stuff right
yeah,
here.
fully.
So
Because
I'm gonna pull it up and then I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. But to answer your question while it's loading, I actually schedule my content. So I don't just say I'm gonna publish on this day and publish on that day and all that. I actually say what I'm gonna publish on all of these different days. I gotta enter some details here just to log in. But what I'm going to show you when it comes up is how I use this tool called CoSchedule. And what it allows me to do is I use WordPress for my blog, of course. And within my WordPress admin area, okay, I can share my screen now. So let me go ahead and, man, this is powerful, man. I could share my
totally.
screen.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, okay, so it's just loading now.
Yeah, tell me when you can see it.
And we can see the spinning thing on your face.
Okay.
It's coming. I wonder if you should turn don't turn your video off. Maybe hopefully it doesn't kill it. Like it did at the beginning of today's call.
Oh, it shouldn't. It's still the video stream. So
Yeah, I wonder if you turn your video off, Leslie.
Yeah, let me try that.
And then it'll just be your screen coming through.
Wait, if I turn my video off, will it still go showing my screen?
It should do. Maybe just try again, like stop sharing and then try sharing again. I think that might fix it.
Let's do that. Share screen. And
Yeah, I actually want to see this as well because I've never really had a content calendar myself. I've been very disorganized in that sense.
Oh, then you're gonna love this.
You know, I've been watching what Leslie's been doing. Leslie's been learning from people like Mike Stelzner from Social Media Examiner, which is they're just content machines, right? So really awesome. Actually, the screen is up now, so let's have a look. All right. So people can see your screen, Leslie.
Okay, so this is my screen, and this is the CoSchedule app that I use. It's a WordPress plugin that integrates with WordPress, and you can see today, this is the 7th, I did a live stream on how to overcome your fear and do something big. And then on Wednesday, I have a podcast episode on how to use local meetups to build your audience with Colin Yearwood. That's an interview. And then next Sunday, I have another live stream. I was gonna do it on Facebook, but now I'm thinking I'm gonna do it on YouTube on how to make money with your blog. Okay. And then I have an episode here. So I've basically gone through and scheduled out the entire next 3 months, my webinars. And like if I were to go into one of these items, like this episode here, you'll see all of the checklists of things that need to be done, all of the things that I did, all of the things that my virtual assistant has done. You can see this is not published as yet, but we have our tweets already scheduled. This one is going to go out the same day. This one is going to go out the day after. This is going to go out a week after and all that stuff. We can have conversations here. So I can talk. So my assistant sent me a message here. Do you need the following for this post, a slide deck and a list of resources? So everything is right here within WordPress. And that is pretty handy. When you have the checklist, it actually puts the checklist on the schedule so that you can see when things are due for all of the content. So yeah, I have this done for the next 3 months. I mean, this is just looking at the next month, but I can come up here and then go to the next month. And then you'll see all of the other things that I have for that month and so on and so forth. So this is go ahead.
With CoSchedule, does it only work in WordPress or can you use it?
No, actually, you can use it. You can use it separately, and if you log into the app, it actually gives you more options. So this is my dashboard. So in my dashboard outside of WordPress, I can see, she made a comment. I can see all of my tasks that I have to do, and then I can go into my calendar. I'll show you what else it does. I can go into my calendar here, but then I can see all of my top posts. and I can see the ones that are doing very well. And then I could schedule these for sharing because they're doing so well. I could say, hey, I want to put this on my calendar for a certain day and time. I can do all of that from right within here. It's very powerful.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, so co-schedule. And is there a cost involved? Probably.
Yes, I think it's like $10 or $15 a month that you pay for it.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's
But
pretty
it
good.
gives you all of these features. Pretty cool.
Wow. Okay. And I noticed you got different colors there. What's the significance of the colors?
That's just for me, right? So I could
Yeah.
see that this here is going to be a solo episode. This here is going to be an interview. This is going to be a live stream. This is going to be a webinar. This is going to be a coaching call. So
Okay.
I've color coded them myself based on the things that I know are important, and I can just look at the color and see exactly what it is. And then I could say, for example, that I only want to see things that are of that color. So I just want to see my webinars and nothing else. And now I could see that.
Ah, okay. Very cool.
Or I just want to see my interviews that are coming up and nothing else. All right.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it.
So basically, what you can do is use my little idea there for the live streaming stuff, where you program it already into YouTube already, but then use the
Exactly.
co-schedule thing to help manage the whole process.
Exactly. And like I have these are all my live streams, just like you were talking about, but now I can put it into YouTube. I can come in here and I can attach like an Evernote file with my notes, a Google Doc with my notes, and so on and so forth. It's really neat the way they have it set up.
Awesome. Well, Leslie, we've been at it for about an hour. So I think we're going to probably bring it to a close now. I don't see any particular more questions. There's a couple more comments there, but no more questions that I can spot. So if you want to bring your video back, yeah, cool. I can split screen again. Excellent. Thank you, everyone. I think we're going to bring it to a close now. Today was such a fun thing. We almost didn't go ahead with Leslie.
I know, right? I'm so
almost
glad
didn't go
we
ahead.
did it.
And so glad that it actually worked out. I don't know what happened. Our internet just dropped out twice this morning, so I don't know what was going on with that. But so glad we were able to do that. I'm running these. I'm planning to do them every day. I'm not going to say that I promise to do them every day because I don't have them scheduled in yet. But I probably will. I'm thinking about doing it. So join us every day at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're keen to learn more about the stuff, and I'll probably bring more guests on, maybe Leslie and other people as well, and come and join us and have a bit of fun.
Awesome.
Leslie, any final words from you?
No, that's pretty much it. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for having me on here. It's nice to be on with you, as opposed to just talking about all of the live stuff that we're doing. So this is really cool. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing it more in the future.
Brilliant. And everyone, make sure you go and visit Leslie's channel, Become a Blogger. Also, go to becomeablogger.com, sign up for the free stuff he has there, and stay tuned with his blog posts. He's got some really amazing content on his blog, all about blogging and how to use blogging to grow your business and to change the world, one blog at a time. Right, Leslie?
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you again on another call.
Bye, guys.